Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. This episode is part of our Bookseller Lightning Talk series, in which booksellers present short talks on tech tools, organizational strategies, communication methods, or innovations they've made in their stores. Our next and last bookseller that will be talking to us today is Bregette Poore, who will be discussing book, toy purchasing and acquisition at her store. So take it away.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. That was so exciting. I got so caught up in taking notes on the other people's presentations, I forgot I was doing my own. So I am actually more on the toy side. We have a toy and bookstore, 3 brick and mortar stores in the DC metro area. And our book buyer, who does a phenomenal job with our book department, asked me to jump on because some people have questions about how to find either toy or gift items to sell for impulse without going on fair, because I have a hard time shopping just online. I think we're all in the business of, we would love people to be in the store, and that's the same for us as buyers. It does sort of depend on where you are, but even on the East or the West Coast, if it's in the budget to even do it, like, you don't have to do it every show or do it just even once to get some connections out there, is to do some of the like gift trade shows. The one in Atlanta is really great. There's one in Vegas that's really great. I know a lot of people go to Dallas because it's a great opportunity to see things in person, because, online it's not the same as when you're in a shop or when you're at a trade show and something catches your eye. You want the customers to be able to have that same feeling. Is that it's also a great opportunity to try out things, because the show specials might be they might normally have a $500 like free freight minimum, but at the show it might be a lower buy-in or an extra discount. And then even for the future, it's more of you've made a connection, you've seen some companies that you wouldn't have known about, and then you don't have to go to the show every time because you can just reorder from them. And as they get new product, they'll let you know. And for a lot of this, if people have questions, definitely jump in, because I was told it was more of people would have questions, and if I need to answer them, no problem. I think a lot of people, if you don't already, might use Fair. If you don't already, like if you're going to get into it, they have a spring and a winter, usually like 10 to 20% off. It depends on what people are doing, but that's a great time to either stock up for your store, or if you guys do like work with book fairs, that's a great way to get in at the beginning, but then you can usually talk to people behind the scenes and then find out about ordering directly from them. Because a lot of those companies are willing to do more stuff with you if they don't have to pay the commission to Fair. Did anybody have questions? Because we're in, like I said, a unique position where I don't have to go out and search so much to find different companies or little impulse items, because they're already through companies that we order. But I know if you don't have if you're more of a just straight bookstore, it's much harder to open up an account and be able to order enough stuff from a company that would make it worth it.
I'd love to know if you have specific things that you look for when you are trying to source a new company from Fair, for example, or are there specific terms or discounts that you're looking for, obviously without saying anything too specific, or are there categories? Yeah.
We hate to pay for shipping. So the big thing we go to is to go to a lot of trade shows where they will have either a lower minimum or just at that time, it might be a free freight for no matter what your order is. Again, what we're looking for, because we have a toy store, we're able to branch out to more items, but the impulse, because the same even for me, I have access to any book I want. I can special order any book that we want, even though we do mostly children's books. We can also order any adult book, but I will still go into other independent bookstores because I love to find the stuff that I didn't know was around. Like little tiny cutesy puzzles, or during the holidays, even if you don't carry a lot of stuff, if you don't have space for impulse, changing it out for every season, I might go in to be well, what's like obviously Christmas, but even like the Easter holidays or just little spring or summer things, because I like to find cute, quirky stuff. And bookstores is where I usually go around here to find the funny things that I didn't know even existed. I think somebody mentioned the BC pens, so I bet a lot of companies know that they could already go through BC to get like pens, or like Peter Popper is great because they have so many like the scratch off books that tie into our bookstore, but also have a lot of the journals and bookmarks. If is a great company. It's just IF that does a lot of like the reading timers, which may not be a big thing for the adults, but for the children, it gets them to read for the 20 minutes, and they're just impulse add-on items. So again, with like, I loved your whole talk about getting in more customers, because that is exactly why we're doing this. But when they're in here, if they were going to come in for a couple of books and they add on a couple of like, oh, that's so cute, right at the last minute, that's an easy thing to add on, and doesn't require any more sellers to be on your floor. They just do it to themselves.
Sandy's got a hand raised. Sandy, you want to go ahead?
Sorry, it kept tapping and it wouldn't do anything. So the problem that I run into here is even using Square, or even reaching out to them personally or through a rep. I'll give you an example. I have been trying to find a plush dragon. We're the book dragon shop, and everybody wants a nice plush dragon. And every single plush company that I have reached out to is so enthusiastic in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get oh, we're really sorry, we can't sell to you. I have gotten that from, I want to say, every single plush that I've reached out to. We had a store downtown that carried Jellycat. They announced 8 months that they were going to be retiring and closing their store on this one month. 8 months I reached out to Jellycat, kept in touch with them. Hey, I'm really excited. I've looked through the catalogs that you guys sent. I really am excited. I'm looking forward to carry them. And we went on and on. And then after they closed, I reached out to them and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know they are closed. We're interested in looking at placing our first order. Crickets. And then I kept reaching out, and finally I called the number, and I have to say the woman I spoke to was a tad on the rude side, and she goes, oh, well, we've decided that we're not going to take any new merchants right now. And I said, okay. I said, that's fine. And then lo and behold, a merchant a half a block away says, hey, guess what? We're going to be carrying Jellycat. And now I'm not petty enough. I did not call and say anything. I just let it alone. I do have to say that I was pissed, to say the least. Yeah. So even on fair, when they say, oh, well, there's fair protection, you can't get that. I argued with fair and said, I understand about fair protection, and I understand about zip code protection from all these other plush companies. But I said, if I'm not ordering what they're ordering, why does it make a difference? And I said, these are the items that I'm looking to carry from you. I've been to the other retailers that carry this, mm-hmm. and they won't do it. Even Douglas, I worked with them for 6 weeks, putting together an order, showing them what I wanted and everything. And then right as I'm ready to place the order, I got an email that said, oh, we're really sorry, but we can't do business with you because there's other companies. You know what the other company is? Walmart.
Oh, they normally don't care any. So Jellycat is uniquely hard to work with.
They are. I understood that. I just, maybe 7 months into this, you should have said,
yeah, Yeah. So if you, but so that's one of the things, if you were able to go even just once to one of like the gift trade shows,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like Aurora, I don't think they say no to anybody. And they've got some really cute dragon stuff. But then
Who
it's
is it?
Aurora,
I think
AUR.
I was speaking with them, but see, and I was, but see, I told them no
Because
because
yeah.
Douglas was supposed to be doing something. Then I felt like, gee, I already told this lady no. She's not going to want me to call her and say,
Oh,
hey, guess what? Your second choice.
they 100% want you to call them.
Okay.
It,
Because I know I can get it through Merry Makers and things like that. And those dragons are cute, but that isn't what the customer wants.
yeah.
They've told me what they want, and it's just, it is frustrating. I get that you don't want to have the same thing everywhere. I mean, I can't even get a couple sock companies in my store because there are gift shops that carry one style of
Of
their
their,
sock. And that's the only thing that they carry.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'd love to hear if other people have worked with kind of the zip code protection or figured out ways to work around or work with other local retailers. Bridget, did you have things that you've been on at your store?
Well, what I was going to say is the other part about going in there is you find out who, like, if you're at a show where you just even find out from the company, like who is your local rep, not just their inside rep. Once you build up some of those, if you have an outside rep who's fighting for you, I mean, that makes a big difference. And also even just on the book side, I mean, Molly is our book buyer. So I know when they do their whole meetings, they're normally book focused, but especially like Chronicle, they have so many like lines that are there. And it's just so different when you see that in person. And I know that most of our reps could bring samples, but that's not where their focus normally is. But even if you go out there and you're like, who's my rep in the area, and you contact that rep, and then you could find out they actually have several lines of different things that they might want to work with. It does help a lot when they're doing all the work.
thank you.
Yeah, in addition to the I don't know if other locations have this, but I know in Seattle we actually have a year-round Seattle Mart that has sidelines vendors always there, and so we can whatever commission reps are representing those lines in our region, you can go there at any time and meet with them. So there might be some of those also throughout the country.
Oh yeah, because even some we're out, or me personally, because I really love to shop. If I see something that's out there, I'm like, that's really cute. I might go to the website and ask them directly, like, who is your rep in the area? And like, it didn't even have to be through a trade show or whatever, and then get that resource that way.
So the thing with Squishables, I love the Squishables. I think they're adorable. But the thing with those is there is a big store down here that does carry them, but I kind of don't want to order them off of Fair because the minimum is high, but I don't know how many of those I would sell because the minimum is so high. The only ones I want are the dragons and the owl and the little like Halloween ones. So it's kind of hard to justify something like that because I don't really want to upset the other store. So because we do have to all play in the same pond,
right,
with the same customers, but it's not another bookstore. So
Bridget, we
okay.
actually have a question in the chat. Do you ever work with Molly on bringing in book themed toys, and do those do well for you if you have them?
All the time, but more of the book theme stuff is like she mentioned, Merry Makers, where that would be specifically, or like Kids Preferred has a lot of like book themed items, but we might work together more on a, like, if we're going to do it to split, like the dragons, for example, I might just get more dragon toys and gifts and do sort of like a display for it, as opposed to it being actually like a licensed themed.
I heard a hack at one point about fair that might or might not be true, and I'm wondering if anybody has legit insight into this. I was told at one point that the vendor actually gets a better, or gets fair takes less of a cut from the vendor if you order directly through their like kind of hub landing page rather than if you find the vendor through like the search function on
Yeah.
fair. Is that true?
Yeah, so you would talk to them and get their direct site. The problem with Fair, and I've tried my best and tried not to screw them over, but if you take their direct link and you go there and you get off for any reason and go back in, then Fair counts it as, oh, well, you were on Fair and now we're going to get the commission. Because that's also something you could talk to them about if you contact them directly. Be like, I'm willing to use your Fair Direct so that you don't have to give a commission, but can you do anything? Can you help me? Can you give me 1% back? Is there a minimum I can get to that freight that might be lower than what you've advertised? So they're able to do, because once you put in that order on Fair, it goes to them, but they're able to make some changes. At least some of our people have.
Cool. That's really interesting. Any other questions? Anybody else have hot tips and tricks they wanted to share about toy acquisition for their stores? Anything that's worked really well, might be off the radar?
I'll share something. So in February, there was a regional toy and game show in New England that they had for the first time, Net's New England Toy Show. And it was the first time I had been to at this scale, sort of non-book specific thing. And there were any number of items that I had honestly considered and looked at online, some of them for years. And then as soon as I saw them in person and saw them demoed, I was just like, take my money. So I guess my point of saying this is the thing that got me to go to this is it was like, 90 minutes away. I could just drive to it. And we're hoping they're going to replicate that event every year. But if they do not, I will absolutely get on a plane and go to a toy show once, if not every year, then every other year, because it was well worth it. And also, to Sandy's challenges, I met with a lot of reps that I hadn't ever met in person necessarily, or I also established some new rep relationships. So I definitely feel like I'm upping my game and toy sideline game considerably just by virtue of having attended the show.
Yeah. And Nets was actually very small. It's the first time that they've done it. They are going to do it next year and they're considering it for the year after, but Toy Fair is going to be coming back to New York. That's a huge beast. That might be like overwhelming to go to, but like I said, the Atlanta one, if you're on the East Coast, or the Vegas one, because they have so many like gift portions, but they also have like permanent showrooms that stay there, and a lot of them are toys. It's a great way to just see so many things at once. But like you just said, it makes such a big difference when you see it in person.
I need a clarification on a comment that was made in the chat. Kelsey, are they real frogs that you purchased? Were they live frogs or stuffed frogs that you are warning folks not to buy for their stores? Very important question.
Real frogs.
Real frogs.
I didn't.
Your store carried real frogs. Okay, that is a sideline I have not heard before.
It was not. It's a long story. Find me at Children's Institute and buy me a drink, and I'll tell you the story.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to talk about the turn on those. Getting low. So okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA website at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!